very good evening to Miss Sugan. I'm Vaishni Chandrasekharan, and that's my partner Jiva Vaishini. So today we are going to present on the project that we have done, which is the article analysis. So the article we chose is "The Art of Dying" by Peter. And next. Okay, so we are told to present three types of aspects from our article, which are morphology, syntax, and semantics. Under morphology, there are a few elements like word formation process and morphological description. Under syntax, there are tree diagram and so on. And semantics, there are semantics features and lexical relations. Moving on. Okay, so introduction to morphology. First, morphology is a word that consists of number of elements. Okay, for the explanation on word formation process, Jiva Vashini will be explaining.
Hi, Miss. So I'm going to continue with coinage. So coinage is invention of totally new terms. So most typical source from brand names and product names. And also from the article we have took some examples from coinage. So that is Messerschmitt, which is company, and also number two is Austin Haley Sprite, which is regarding to cool drinks. And next to borrowing. So borrowing is taking our words from other language. So examples from the articles are alcoholic is Arabic and fiance is from French words. So that's all from me. Moving to my friend.
Okay, so next will be compounding and clipping. So compounding is actually joining two separate words into one. As you can see, we actually picked two words from our article, which are classmates and football. Classmates can actually be separated. One is class and one is mates. And also football also can be separated from foot to ball. Joining two separate words into one with these two examples are actually called compounding. And next, clipping. Clipping is reduction of a word to a shorter version. So example, phone, the original word is telephone and they clip it and it became phone. And professor, the shorter version is prof and from the original word professor. Moving on.
So bad formation is a word type that is reduced to another word type. So example from back formation is like donation, donate, like that. So from the article we took examples as Texan, a Texas native, and a Midwest, Middle West, or United States from their countries. So, and conversion is a change of function, word, noun to verb. From the convention, like the examples we took from the article is manufacturing plastic bags and kicking at leaves. So that's all from my part.
Okay, so the last one for morphology, word formation process is acronyms. Acronyms are uh, acronyms are formed from the initial letters of a set of other words. In example, television, uh, it's formed from the initial letters which are TV, and also NASA is actually the full formation is National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So these two we picked from our articles to show an example for acronyms. Okay, that's all for word formation process. We'll be moving to the next part. Unmute, unmute.
Sorry. So morphological description is the study of forms and analyzes the basic element used in a language. So morphemes is a word forms that consists of the number of elements. So morpheme there's two, which is free morphemes and bound morphemes. And the free morphemes are morphemes that can stand on its own. And when you use with the bound morphemes, they are known as stem. So it can be divided into two categories, which is lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. So the lexical morphemes is an example of noun, adjectives, and verbs. Example words as boys, tiger, short, like that. And also functional morphemes is conjunctions, prepositions, articles, and pronouns. And the examples are and, but, when, because. The um, continuous of sentences. So the bond morphemes is can't stand alone, typically attached with another from like example re, uh, ist, and s. It also divided into two categories, which is derivational morphemes and also uh, inventional morphemes. So derivational morphemes is used to make new words in the language, often used to make words of a different grammatical category from a stem. So example like change of adjective good to noun. Example like goodness with the use of morphemes. The example is nurse. So that's they will use for derivational morphemes. And inventional morphemes is not to use to produce new words but to indicate grammatical function of word. So from the article we have to four, but for our slide we chose three. So my father's fragmentary stories from the war left big gaps in time. So my is functional, father is lexical, as I told just now. S is infectional, fragment is lexical, ARI is derivational, stories is lexical, prompt is functional, war is lexical, left is functional, big is lexical, gaps in functional, and frame is time is lexical. So I broke free at the cost of having myself from letting my siblings down. So as we have categorized it from a morphological description, and these are the morphological description from the article.
Okay, so moving on to syntax. Um, Introduction to syntax. Okay, syntax is actually the study of structure of sentence. Okay, so syntax is also setting out together or in a form of arrangement. Okay, so syntax is from the form of generative grammar, a set of explicit rules that used to generate grammar. Example, from preposition to noun, and then from the properties of grammar, grammar will also generate all the well-formed syntactical structure. Grammar will also have a limited number of rules that will be capable of generating an infinite number of well-formed structures. So, for the first one, surface structure and deep structure under syntax. Okay, surface structure is to differentiate what type of sentence it is, whether it's active sentence or passive sentence. And then the deep structure is actually explaining on what types of surface forms that the both sentence have. Surface structure, we are actually comparing the sentence on how we actually identify whether the sentence is active or passive. So we need to know how we actually identify whether the sentence is active by looking at which part of the sentence, and also for passive is also the same. So as an example from our article we picked, for the first one, um, years later, I asked my mother if she had been aware of the pattern. This sentence actually resembles active sentence. And also for the second one, I'm not in physical pain as I write, though I tire quickly and nap often. Second one would be passive sentence. So the surface structure for these both sentence are both has difference in the syntactical structure, because both are not same type of sentence. Both has different types of elements which are active and passive. And the deep structure is actually both sentence have two deep structures because both has different surface forms and meanings. Okay, so moving on to the next, structural ambiguity, which will be presented by Jiva.
Okay, so structural ambiguity is a kind of ambiguities which occur when a phrase, clause, or sentence can be given two or more different uh, interpretations as a result of the arrangement of word, which is the structure. So from the article we have chose I'm an alcoholic 20 years sober. So there's two kind of meaning, which is he's an alcoholic for 20 years sober, or he became sober after 20 years of being an alcoholic. So there's two sentences. So the next is Patsy Cline was playing on the car radio. So we have found two sentences, which is Patsy Cline was playing songs on the car radio, or Patsy Cline was playing on top of the car radio. So that's all.
Okay, so next. Okay, so next I'll be explaining on the tree diagram under syntax also. So tree diagram actually resembles symbols that are used in syntactic description. So we are actually explaining a sentence in syntactic descriptions, which is called tree diagram under syntax. So as we see, we have picked from the article. First sentence, we actually chose four example, but we are only presenting one, which is the first sentence is the summer sky was bright blue. So for the first one, as we know, um, based on what Miss has taught us, so every symbols here represent a full form of word. So the summer sky was bright blue. The is under determiner, and then from the first sentence we it divided to two arrows. First is determiner and VP is verb phrase, okay, divided into two. Under VP, under verb phrase, summer is under verb V, and another side the sky is under adjective. Under adjective there are pro is pronoun. Pronoun stands for was in the sentence. And under pronoun, there is again verb and adjective. Verb is bright and adjective is blue. So we chose this sentence to explain the tree diagram in our presentation. Okay, so moving on to Jiva.
So I'm going to talk about introduction of semantics. So the definition of semantics is the study of the meaning of words, phrase, and sentences. So there's two types of semantics, is like two categories, which is conceptual and exotative meaning. So the conceptual meaning is also known as denotative meaning. which is literal use of a word. Example like needle, long, sharp, still. And also the exotative meaning is also known as connectative meaning, which is stylish meaning of a word. So like example needle, painful, ouch. So from the article we took here is museum. So from the museum, the conceptual meaning is building, and also for the executive meaning is historical, artistic, scientific, or cultural interest object store and exhibited. So for the drug, the conceptual meaning is medicine. The associative meaning is diagnosis, prevention, addiction, or treatment of a disease. So that's all.
Okay, okay. So moving to the next one, semantic features. Semantic features help us to understand the nature of language. In with what we have picked from the article, four types of example, four types of words, which are mask, engineering, brush, and pianist. We have identified into the four elements, which is female, animate, adult, and thing. And we have fill in the blanks with the correct symbols. So that's all for semantic features. Moving on to the semantic roles.
Okay, so for the semantic roles, there is six types, if I'm not mistaken. So which is agent, uh, team, instrument, experiencer, ex, and location. So I guess there is five. The agent is which is team instrument, the entity and the entity that performs the action. So from here, there's like in one sentence we saw like I is an agent. So instrument is the agent uses in performing an action. So in the first sentence we have saw as an instrument, and also for the team we have given that P was giving a concert. So for the next sentence, there she broke up with me on street corner, denouncing me and storming off. So she is agent, broke up me is instrument, on the street is location, denouncing me and storming off is a team. So that's all from me.
Okay, so moving on to the next part, which is semantics, lexical relation. Okay, so lexical relation is the relationship of words and particularly nouns. Meaning of words are always given in words that having relating meaning and not exact meaning. So from the first one, which is I'm going to explain on synonyms and prototype. So synonyms is the meaning of words. Example for broad, the meaning of broad is wide, and for cab, the meaning of cab is taxi. So as we picked four examples from our article, which is view, records, corpse, and breeze. So view stands for sight, records stands for documentary, corpse stands for dead body, and breeze stands for a gentle wind. Moving on to prototype. Prototype are words that has good examples, like when a person mentions bird, you would say pigeon and not flamingo. Or when furniture is mentioned, you say chair or table. So in example, with the four words we picked, canvas, armchairs, bed, and highway. Canvas is actually a cloth made from hemp, flax, or yarn for oil painting. We have a good example for all these words that is actually meant by prototype. Armchairs is furniture, bed is furniture used as a place to sleep, and highways are roads. So moving on to the next one.
So, from the semantics, we also find antonym. So, an antonym is a semantic term of a word that has an opposite meaning to another word. So, we have found like gradable from the category of antonym. So, it we have found like father and brother, which is mother, father, sister. And next is non-gradable, which is anger, friend, solo, painful. So non-gradable is like antonyms that can't be compared, like such as this. And next is reversive. So examples like approval, disapproval, write, rewrite, and gradable, non-gradable.
Okay, so moving on to the next one, hyponym. Hyponym are words that can have a hierarchical relationship. Example, a Rottweiler is a dog in a hyponym term, and tiger and rabbit are co-hyponyms. Tiger and rabbit is co-hyponyms. So an example and for example words that we have picked from the article is city, Bourbon, hospital and champagne. So city stands for country, Bourbon actually stands for alcoholic beverages, hospital stands for a building in a hyponym term, and champagne is an alcohol. So next, moving on to homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but spelled differently and means differently. So as we see, an example, let's say pale and pale. Pale, pale, the facial expression of pale, and pail, pale, the pail where we fill water in. So these are words that sound same but spelled differently. So in example of four words that we picked from our article, write, writing, and write, correct. Scene is a scene, like a scenery, and scene is we actually see that. And die, they have two terms, die and die. And then tire and another tire. So that this means homophones that sounds the same but spelled differently. So next.
So next is homonyms. Homonyms is the word that spells the same, sounds the same but different meaning. So from the article we have to played like continually with those objects as a boy, fantasizing about military glory. Next is address as the president and he called her the student body. So judge, a public officer appointed to decide cases in law court from an opinion or conclusion about. Lastly is withdrawal money, withdrawal from an activity. So there is like the spells the same and also sounds the same, but there's different meaning from the sentences. Next is polysemy. So the polysemy is the words that spell and sound the same but has more than two meanings. So from the article we have to four. So there's German hospital magazines and face. So for the German is helmet and uniform and also a rifle cleaning kit. Next is hospital where is place for treatment for the ill and also for magazine periodic publication. And lastly is face, a part of body and an aspect of something. That's all.
Okay, so moving on to metonym and collocation. Metonym is the relationship of words based on a close connection of everyday experiences. Let's say king crown, uh, in example, sorry, king crown the president, White House, and etc. So metonym in example, parents goes by with children, East goes with west, hospital indicates patient, and then phone goes with apps, the application on the phone. And then next, for collocation, uh, as we took the forwards from our article, frequently occurring together. Collocation is something that occurs together frequently. So example, black and white, husband and wife, salt and pepper. Example, so mother and father, brother and sisters, rock and song, middle and class. So that's all for lexical relation under semantics. So um as we have presented on the three elements, which are morphological, and then syntax, which has semantics and all, and also the morphemes and all. By presenting all of this, we have actually completed our project presentation. So that's all from me, Vaishni Chandrasekharan. Thank you,
And
Miss.
And also from studying linguistic, it's like the science of language and how it evolves. So we have like developed skills in analyzing language, like looking at syntax and semantics as well as a word and sounds. So we have studied and we have ideas and theories of learning how to present linguistic. So that's all from me, Jiva Washni, and thank you, Miss.
Thank you.